Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Sarah from the Gluten Free Blogger. For those of you who don't already know me, I haven't probably posted a video on here for like years, and I'm really sorry if you've subscribed and there's been nothing, but it's lockdown in the UK and I'm back, and I thought that I would bring you a really easy bread recipe which is gluten free but doesn't contain any yeast. Because we're in lockdown, certain items have been difficult to get hold of, and I really wanted to make a gluten-free bread recipe which everyone could make, that would use really simple ingredients that are already in your store cupboard in your fridge, and I think I've absolutely nailed it with this gluten-free soda bread recipe. Now, it's a quick bread, which means you don't need to knead it, you don't need to prove it, you literally shove it all together and put it in the oven, and it's that simple. And it's actually an Irish bread recipe, and instead of yeast it uses bicarbonate of soda as a raising agent, which means that you still get this delicious, crispy on the outside bread with holes and soft middle, but you don't have to worry about yeast. So before we crack on with this recipe, I just thought I'd really quickly run through with you what you need to make this. So for starters, you need gluten-free flour. Now, for those of you who follow me on Instagram, you will see that I actually went to a wholesaler and I bought a 16 kilo bag of gluten-free flour, which I'll post a picture of here. I was very excited about this. I've been wanting to buy flour in bulk for ages, so a top tip, if anybody is struggling to get hold of stuff in lockdown, check your local wholesalers. A lot of them have opened up to the public now, restaurants have closed, so it's really a good idea to do that. And I also picked up from them something else you need in this recipe: natural yogurt. You don't need this much natural yogurt, but I've been making a lot of recipes with this and I thought it would just make sense to buy it in bulk. Didn't realise quite how much I was buying, but I will use all of this. So you need yogurt, and you also need some milk and some lemon. You need these because you're going to be making them into buttermilk. You can use buttermilk instead if you want, but I don't have any, so I haven't trialed it with this, but a lot of soda bread traditionally uses buttermilk. And what we'll be doing is using the lemon juice to sour the milk and yogurt to make our own buttermilk. Alongside that, you will need some sugar. You will also need some xanthan gum. This is a really good ingredient for making anything gluten-free. It basically adds the texture of gluten. So when you're kneading bread and you want it to be stretchy, this kind of replicates some of that. Don't worry too much if you don't have this. A lot of gluten-free flour blends actually contain xanthan gum, but I just like to add a little bit of extra. If you don't have it, it's no big deal. Your bread will still turn out amazing. You'll also need some salt to flavour the bread, and then the most important thing of all, you will need bicarbonate of soda. This is what we're going to use as our raising agent, and it's the most important bit of this bread, so make sure you've got this in. Most supermarkets still have this in stock, and it is gluten free, so that is all you need. Now it's time to make some bread. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is to make my buttermilk. If you have buttermilk, you can skip this step and you can just use buttermilk, but I don't, so that's what I'm going to make now. Now for this, you will need your milk, and you will need your lemon, and you will need not quite this much yogurt, but some yogurt. And what I'm going to do is measure it all into a bowl together, and then I will mix it up and it will start to curdle and it will make buttermilk, and it'll be amazing, and it will make fantastic bread, hopefully. So first of all, I'm going to juice the lemon. You need a tablespoon of this. It's about half a lemon. It's really hard to do this, not on a wax top. So once I've juiced this, I'm going to have approximately a tablespoon of that. But then I need to add the milk and the yogurt into a bowl. Now the reason that I use milk and yogurt together is because buttermilk is quite runny and yogurt is quite thick, so I thought if I mix the milk and the yogurt together, you get a very similar consistency. If you only have Greek yogurt, I would recommend maybe upping the milk content slightly and using slightly less yogurt so that it's not too thick. You want it to be fairly runny. That's why I'm making a video, so I can show you guys. Okay, so first up, you need 100 milliliters of milk, which I'm just pouring into the bowl. And then you need 200 milliliters of yogurt. And then you also need to mix in with that a tablespoon of lemon juice, which is, as I said before, approximately half a lemon. Oh, perfect. And then I'll show you. Okay, so now while our buttermilk is hanging out for a minute, we will measure out our dry ingredients. The first thing you need is plain gluten-free flour. You need 400 grams of this, which I will measure out now. And then you need to add to it half a teaspoon of xanthan gum, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, a tablespoon of sugar, and around a tablespoon of salt. So I will mix all of those into this bowl, mix it all up so that I get a nice even distribution throughout the dry mix before I add the wet ingredients to it. Now the baking soda is our magic ingredient, don't forget, which we're using instead of yeast to get that rise. So if you can get some measuring spoons like this, it's really helpful. You can use like a normal teaspoon, a tablespoon, but I just find these a lot more accurate. So I'll post some links in the description for places you can get them, like Amazon. I think I picked these up in Sainsbury's, but I definitely recommend them. And then all I'm going to do is just give this a nice stir to make sure that all of the dry ingredients are all mixed together. Not very exciting to watch. Now one final thing you just want to get ready before you mix everything together is you want an egg. But I would recommend cracking the egg into a mug or bowl and giving it a little bit of a whisk to combine it, and also to make sure you don't get any shell in there, because there's nothing worse than trying to hook shell out of an already half-made bread or cake mix. Trust me, I've done that before, so you don't have to. So I'm just going to crack this into my mug, and then you don't want to like create some sort of meringue thing here. Literally just whisk it for like 30 seconds. Not even that, just so that it's nicely combined, ready to go into your mix. So now everything is mixed up. We've got our dry ingredients, we've got our wet ingredients, and now we're going to mix everything together, and you can see just how quick and easy it is to form this gluten-free soda bread. It's going to be a case of mixing it up, kneading it into a kind of shape. We might need a bit of extra flour just for dusting off the worktop to kind of mold it into that shape, and then we'll put it in the oven and see how it comes out. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is pour in the buttermilk, which you can see it's kind of this nice runny consistency. This is what you're aiming for. So if you're using something like Greek yogurt, make sure you put in enough milk to yogurt that it goes nice and runny. And I'm going to pour this into my flour mix, and then I'm going to pour in my egg. Now to start off with, I'm just going to use a wooden spoon to start mixing this together, but as it starts to come into a dough, you're going to have to get in there with your hands. So as you can now see, this is starting to form a bit of a claggy dough. It's starting to kind of come together a bit. So this is about where I'm going to get in there with my hands, and I'm going to try and mold it all together. Now if you find that the dough is really sticky or really runny, just try adding like a teaspoon of flour at a time to the mix, and I will show you the kind of thing you're aiming for. So I'm going to move the camera down here so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to lightly flour my hands before I get in there, just to make sure the dough doesn't stick. Now you can see this dough is pretty sticky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it out into a floured work surface, and then I'm going to use a little bit of extra flour just to bring it together so I can actually manage this dough, because currently this is just too sticky, and you might find you have this problem because flours will vary depending what mix you use. So you can see I can kind of mold it round into this shape, but it is just a tiny bit too sticky to mold onto the tray. So once I've got it all out, I'm literally just gonna make sure my hands are floury, turn the dough around a couple of times, and you can see just from giving it that little bit of extra flour, I can actually hold and mold this dough around a lot easier. Now I don't want to go crazy with the flour, so I'm going to scrape off some of the excess. So I brought out way too much. And I'm going to mould this into a nice round shape. And then I've got my baking tray. And you can see I've just made it into a nice shape. You might find there's a few creases. We don't necessarily want this to be completely perfect. To finish it off before the oven, I'm going to just score across along the top so that when it goes and heats up and that lovely baking soda rises through it, it's not going to just burst open. Okay, and there you have it. That is how easy it is to put this together. It's ready for the oven. I'm going to pop it in for 30 minutes and then I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. I'm excited. So my soda bread is ready. Doesn't it look beautiful? You can see that it's got that lovely kind of crisscross on the top from where we scored it. It's looking nice and golden brown and it sounds lovely and hollow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this cool completely before I cut it up and show you guys what it looks like on the inside and tuck in and eat it because I can't wait. Let me show you this. So as you can see, you obviously don't need yeast to make good bread. This has got the most gorgeous crusty outside and then it's lovely and soft and bubbly on the inside. You can feel it's nice and soft. And then you've got these gorgeous crusts as well. So there you have it guys, how to make my gluten-free soda bread. I just wanted to prove to you how easy this recipe really is. You don't need any yeast to make it and it still makes this incredibly light and delicious bread, as you can see from the little bubbles inside with a really nice crunchy outer. Now I really hope you enjoyed this recipe and I hope I've managed to answer your questions. I will pop the recipe link in the description down below, so please do leave me a like and a comment if you have any questions or you give this a go and like it yourself. Visit the blog for the full written recipe and I can't wait to hear what you think. I hope you enjoy it and I will be back with more recipes soon, so if you have any requests, let me know. I'm trying my best to bake my way through lockdown, so I'm happy to give any demos of any recipes already on the site or anything new. Just drop me a comment, let me know, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.